Over the last 20 years, I've spent countless hours preparing thousands of tracks to play in my sets. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. There's one subject I didn't pay enough attention to in the beginning: cue points. And because I didn't understand the different types of cue, I ended up wasting precious time I could have spent on my decks, playing predictable sets, and I really struggled to adapt to different DJ gear, genres, and situations. In this video, I'll explain what cue points are, why they matter, and the 3 different types you need to know about. If you're new to the channel, I'm Chris, and I help DJs create smarter music libraries and get the most out of their DJ software. Sonic the Hedgehog, 1991. One of my favourite games of all time. It had a bunch of levels you have to get through in order to face off against Dr. Robotnik, which is his correct name. But back in those days, there was no save function, and sometimes I didn't want to have to start from the beginning. Fortunately, there was a level select cheat code you could use to skip to any level. Cue points are a bit like this cheat code. Cue points help DJs skip the small talk and get to the interesting stuff faster. With that out of the way, let's get into the definitions of the 3 main types of cue point. The origin of cueing comes from vinyl. DJs placed the needle on a certain spot on the vinyl. They then rocked it back and forth in time with the beat of the other track and released when it was time to start the transition. It's also how I first learned to cue tracks. At the dawn of digital DJing, this transformed into the main cue point. You'll see this big button on almost any DJ equipment from any manufacturer. The main cue point's a bit like when you have a bookmark in a physical book. The bookmark marks a certain page, and you only use it when you've stopped reading. In the same way, the main cue point can only be applied when the track is stopped. But a bookmark is also movable. If you move the bookmark to a new page after reading some more, the previous spot in the book is no longer marked. This works the same as the main cue, which can only ever be in one spot at one time. Finally, a bookmark is designed to be a temporary marker. As soon as you start reading again, it becomes redundant. The main cue is just as flaky. If you load in a new track, then the cue point will not be remembered. Despite these limitations, the main cue point is still really useful. It can help you with your timing and beat matching. You can improvise on top of a track, for example, adding rhythmical elements, or you can use it to test candidates for a more permanent cue point. But its temporary nature means you have to set it every single time, and it doesn't really leverage digital DJing to its full potential. To achieve that, a new type of cue point came along. I think of memory cues a bit like a subway system, or as we call it in London, the tube. Most tube lines have a map pretty similar to this. That's going to represent our track. Along that train line are various stations I can get off at. On our track, that could be things like the intro, the breakdown, or the drop. Or it could even be a point of interest like a mixing point or a vocal. A lot of Londoners, and probably tourists as well, use the tube map as a way of understanding the layout of the city. And memory cues are a lot like this. You can use them to identify various landmarks in your track to help you get around and understand what's where. But there's an annoying problem with train lines. If I want to get off at the 5th stop, I have to sit on that train and go through every single station. I can't just lift up the train and put it where I want to go. Memory cues are the same. You can only access them in order. And like the main cue point, only when the track is stopped. But cues are just one part of an effective DJ library. So if you need some extra help, I share loads of free tips on my newsletter. The link's in the description. Memory cues are primarily used on club gear, i.e. CDJs. And because of their chronological nature, they can be a bit limited for performance. To address that, we need to learn about the 3rd type of cue. What if you could take a track, cut it into pieces, and completely rearrange it however you wanted? Swap the outro with the intro, take the 2nd breakdown and swap it with the 1st. Keeping our transport analogy, hot cues are more like having your own personal helicopter. You can land anywhere in the city, in any order, and at any time, you rich bastard. This allows you to create completely bespoke journeys when playing your track. One unique thing about hot cues versus memory cues or the main cue is they can be set when the track is playing or when it's stopped. And in most cases, you can use them for the same purposes as the other 2 kinds of cue. But before you get too excited, there are some big risks to be aware of. On club gear, hot cues can be a lot more difficult to use because of small fiddly buttons and the amount and way they work. Because they're so flexible, the temptation is to just add loads. And this causes massive problems for your library and your performing down the line. Now we know what the 3 main types of cue point are and why they're important, but the next step is to learn how to set them effectively. In this video, I show you how to set and manage all 3 types of cue point in rekordbox.